Okay, so I wanted to do a live video, and the reason being is I find it a little bit easier to kind of explain what I want without having that restriction of what I'm trying to say or what it is on. So I I to me everything about darkness, dark energy, dark matter is all the same source, if you will. And to me, there's a balance to everything. There has to be a balance. There's no such thing as much of one thing. um, Especially when it comes to dark working, dark manifesting, inner soul scrying. There's multitudes of ways that you can use source for any magic work, any any self work, self healing, and in my studies, my practice, I've learned that the darkness and light is always interchangeable, but one oversees the other without having to truly know what it means. Excuse me, I kind of have my one of my favorite tarot cards out, but it helps me to kind of focus because tarot is to me that darkness. It helps to see the side of yourself that you don't see. And it's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. And it's the darkness and the goddess. So everybody knows how in the Bible it says, in the beginning there was darkness, and from the darkness came the light. Well, it's semi similar to the story of the god and goddess, or the goddess and god, depending on how you want to put it. So, in the beginning was the goddess, the void, the dark energy, if you will, of the world, the source. Um, from source, well, I normally see source as like one gathering ball, if you will, of both dark and light energy, pure storm element energy, which is a mixture of all energies. But what darkness truly is, it's not evil. It really is not evil. It's it's considered evil because in today's society, black is considered evil. The color significance is what's misinterpreted. But in many Native American cultures, black is known as void. We all come from void. In the darkness, we find the cradle of the womb, the cauldron of, well, rebirth, where we all return to sooner or later. The darkness is as much a part of us as it is a part of the universe. Similar to the workings of dark matter, dark energy, it is the unseen world, the unseen, everything that is not made of light or physical matter. It's in darkness that you can often find the hidden underlying truth. And the reason why I say that darkness is the original is because everything has to come from the darkness. Because it's that path working from darkness into light. So when you mix the goddess, the darkness, yin and yang, if you actually look at the philosophy of it, the I really am bad with remembering if yin and yang was, but I think yin was light and yang was dark. But in the yin and yang, the dark side, the dark aspect is the feminine, the goddess aspect, if you will. And it's the receptive energy. It's more soothing in a way, and it's more grounding in nature, and it's that negative aspect of creation, that grounding aspect. And the light in its entirety is in fact the soul essence of the physical world. Take this sunlight right here, for this light right here, for example. That is light energy, the positive energy, the masculine aggressive energy. Everyone is made light, and it is that light that creates the physical manifestation and it along with darkness, because darkness binds us all together in the unseen forces of ourselves, between each and every atom, between each and every cell, molecule, um, if you will, the every like shadow place you can think of within the self, within each and everything around us. Darkness binds us, and it's what makes us us. So if we could not merge darkness with light, what would we be? Who would we be? What what would be our purpose? Which brings up a good point. We don't have a purpose. We have but what we choose. We make our purpose because each of us are individuals, and each and every one of us make up who we are. We make up our own reality. Our thoughts are as more powerful than any given thing in this universe. We can create our own reality because we're only one aspect of the whole. And darkness is actually very much a part of it, especially when you do manifestation work, when you work with the goddesses like Helen or Hela, for example, the goddess of the underworld or the goddess of death, in Norse mythology. You can work with her to some extent to help learn the darkness of your soul, the darkness of who you are, and the things that are underlying, things that you don't realize about yourself. The shamans, they do the soul retrievals, the soul searching, the hidden aspects of the self that we kind of neglect over the years, the parts of ourselves that um, are hidden. Soul searching is all about going back into the self and retrieving the pieces that are lost. That's a form of shadow work, a form of shadow work, dark work, whatever you call it. It's all the same. It works to bring back the lost pieces from the shadow, to bring that back. It's the same concept with soul searching, inner healing, moon scrying, dark scrying, mirror scrying, anything that has to do with darkness. You'll often find it in dark work, shadow work, if you will. And this is in no way at all similar to dark magic, which uses hexes, jinxes, and curses to harm another. Although you can utilize that same principle to cause those manifestations. So the goddess is that receptibility, that negative vibration, that more physical, if you will, the physical manifestation. My bad. The goddess is the physical manifestation, and the light is kind of the etheric, the eth- ethereal energy. That was my bad. I didn't realize what I was saying. But the etheric is of light, and the earth is of dark. That was my bad. But everything has to have a balance. Even in darkness, you can't be full. You can't use full dark or full shadow. You have to kind of do with what you need, and you have to kind of work with the shadow to draw in what you need. But you have to also remember to add in that etheric aggressiveness, because if you're too passive and you want like a manifestation done right then and there, it's good to use dark energy, but you have to remember that there has to be that aggressiveness that has to go into your intent. It's literally anything that has to do with it. And I I liked to learn from Ashira Star Goddess and her videos on dark energy, dark manifestations, dark matter, and I've come up with similar concepts, but I've kind of neglected writing them down. But to me, it's all about remembering, knowing, and just feeling, especially when it comes to the darkness, because it's all around us. Especially in shamanism, I've kind of worked on my own self, if you will, and I've worked on my soul journey to kind of help manifest who I am today. It helped me to overcome my challenges, overcome the things that are different about myself. It helped me to see the parts of myself I was neglecting, what parts of myself was I keeping hidden from someone else. And this is the same concept with the world. Everyone thinks that darkness holds in the ego or works with the ego. But to me, ego, I don't know why people associate it with evil, but it's not. Ego is but a tool that allows us to kind of manifest a better version of ourselves. Um, to me, ego is the inner child saying, me. It's all for me. I'm the only one. I am better than everyone else because I am better. I am me, not anyone else. I am me. And none of you guys can stop me. And that itself, to me, is kind of like the ego wanting to be better, the ego wanting to kind of overcome its challenges, but at the same time put others down to make themselves look bigger. So it's kind of like having the elk or deer, the moose in during mating season, trying to buff up to fight each other for dominance is it is what I see ego as. But ego is the ultimate learning tool because ego and knowledge cannot exist together. Because if you have your knowledge and you try to speak your knowledge, that's not ego. That's just experience. That's just knowledge. That's just things that are being passed on. But the other person's ego is going to feel hurt because they know that they don't know what you know, and they want to make themselves look bigger and put you down. So it's kind of like them making up an excuse to make themselves look bigger, to kind of give themselves the horns, if you will, to kind of push back, but it won't work. It just won't. And when you use that darkness, the dark energy, the dark aspect of the feminine, and you go back and you look within yourself, then and only then can you truly know yourself. Because you have to go into the self, soul search into who you are, what it is that your soul knows. Which one of the good ways to kind of work with your shadow self is with the tarot cards, is with tarot, because you can soul search, soul scry. You can use the tarot cards to kind of deal out with what soul knowledge you have, what soul knowledge you need to know at this current time. And what one thing that people kind of neglect about themselves is that fear, anxiety, worry, stress. These are all tools. They're all tools. There's no such thing as truly negative events. The only time you become limited is when you let those worries, those fears, anxieties, stress get to you. That's the only time where it counts, because it's a tool to show you what you need to work on. What is it that you should change? And this is one thing that people neglect, what people don't want to look at because they think they're perfect. But We're not. We're not perfect. If we were perfect, why would we be here? This is where the darkness comes in. And you can use it to learn, to utilize what you don't know. What it is that you know within, but you aren't expressing it. What is it that you're neglecting? What is it that you're hiding about yourself? What is it that you um, are forgetting to ask yourself? What questions are you not giving out? What questions are you not asking yourself or learning from? So, take for example, if you're fearful you might lose your job, go ahead and meditate. Ask yourself, why am I fearful? Why am I afraid? Why why would I lose my job? Why would I? And if I will lose my job, how can I do a better job at another job? How can I fix myself so I may be better at what I do? How can I change it so I keep a job a little bit longer? How do I change myself to kind of better my situation? How do I keep myself from losing my job? What do I need to change about myself to become better than my current self? What do I have to do to kind of manifest a truer you, a truer me, a truer positive or not positive or a more positive energy? What do I need to do or understand or know about myself? What do I need to know to be able to manifest my desires? Um, the worst part about desires is we desire that we do not need. We desire what we think would benefit us, but deep down we know that what we want isn't exactly what we need, but we can still manifest it. Same thing with any magical works, spells, prayers, hoodoo, voodoo, Santeria, any Shinto, Tao, each and every system of mysticism all has its own forms of manifestation, candle working and all that. And even the Buddhists, incense with tulpa are good for manifestation, but you don't see these energies kind of come to being right then and there. It has to go back into the shadow. You have to go back into darkness to see the light. And this is where I get it from, where that darkness is the truth. Darkness is truth. Because if you think about it, the light is but half a truth. And the reason being is light can blind you, and you can become blind to a higher self, a higher ego, a form of yourself that kind of blinds you from seeing your shadow, your anxieties, your fears, and your tools of learning, your tools of manifestation. You'll forget them. You'll neglect them entirely, and that will throw you off balance because then you'll become more aggressive because you'll want to be more. You will want to quote unquote be more divine than anybody else who you believe are lower vibrational, lower standing than you. And it's because of this that everyone neglects that it is who they are, that we walk in both shadow and light. But in order to walk in light safely, we must first traverse the shadows, the underworld, the hidden self, the hidden realms, the part of us that we neglect, to come to the understanding of who we are, and what we do. You have to first know yourself and know your craft before you can move on to knowing other things. And this alone can take years of practice, years of dedication to truly understand how to work in the shadow, how to work with darkness. And I know I'm not touching up on darkness in its entirety because it's a path that you have to kind of traverse for yourself. But I wanted to do this to help you guys understand the gravity of what darkness is. It's not a tool. Well, it is a tool, but it's not a game. And you can't just play around with it and kind of throw things together and hope it works. You have to have that dedication to your path. You have to make sure that what you want is what you need, because if you don't need it, it's going to slip through your hands. It really will. And it's funny when I do manifestation works, that whenever I'm doing a manifestation spell, I'm always kind of within my own mind, and I'm always trying to get pulled away and back into reality, and I accidentally let my intention slip, which I know I shouldn't. But every once in a while I have my little cousin who'll run up to me and ask me what I'm doing, and I can't ignore him because I hate it when he gives me questions about what I'm doing, because then I'd have to explain it to him, and I'd then forget what it was that I was working on, and my intention will become distorted, and it's not going to be an easier manifestation. It's going to make the manifestation just that much harder to bring into fruition. And that's where I need to learn my own dedication, my own intentional focus. Because when you use dark energy, dark matter, dark forces, the feminine aspect, the femininity, the intuitional states of mind, the unseen forces, the unseen powers, the primordial energies, it you can't play around with that shit. You just can't. You don't do it. And just take my word for it. But it's always a good thing to start off with soul searching, astral working, asking yourself, or doing inner meditations of finding out your truth, who you are, face your shadows, face your anxieties, your fears, your worries from within, before you then move outwards. And for anyone who's beginning their journey, keep a notebook, keep records of the meditations, the things that you've experienced on your path. Keep journals, logs, keep track of that, because that's valuable information for yourself. And it's kind of like a record log, which shows you how far you've come in your path. If you finish a book, right, job completed, book done, congratulations. Congratulate yourself. Make sure that you learned self-love, because if you can't love yourself and you can't believe in yourself, how will you successfully work in darkness? How will you truly work with yourself? How will you work with the goddess within? Because every god and goddess lies within us, the god and goddess, and they are much a part of us as we are a part of them, as they are a part of the universe, which is in turn a part of us. So we are a part of the gods and goddesses, who are then a part of Source, but Source is a part of all of us. So each time we ask the divine, a heavenly force, we literally call upon ourselves, a variation of who we are. And only when you truly come to love yourself will you know yourself. And I might do a little guided meditation on the inner workings, the inner meditations of the self. And you have to kind of remember that everything has its place, even in darkness and the goddess. You can work with the dark goddesses, if you will, the crones of magic, to manifest your desires, to learn darkness from. The Emerald Tablets actually is a book I do suggest if you want to learn a bit about darkness, dark energy, dark alchemy. Go ahead and do your research. Come to understand what it is for yourself. I don't want to explain it all for you guys because that ruins, to me, it ruins what the meaning of darkness is. And when you get to realize and you get to know that the goddesses of darkness kind of have the answers, the gods and goddesses of darkness can teach you what you need to know. Nocturnal magic, the elements, the shadows, that they're all interconnected. And you have to be weary of how you use it and what it is that you're working towards. And it's like any magic, it's not a game, it's not a toy. You can't play around with it. You have to be careful. You have to be very um, humble. You have to show humility. You have to know that there is some form of dignity and respect that needs to go into your work. So I wanted to pull a tarot card for you guys as well, which kind of acts like a guide, if you will, on what it is that you guys need to focus on. And if you guys do tend to rewatch this, what have you learned? What have you learned about yourself? What do you love about yourself? What do you hate about yourself? What do you need to focus on to kind of manifest? What do you need to change about your situations, about your way of thinking, to bring about change? How will you bring about the darkness, and how will you work with darkness to bring balance to yourself? How will you achieve unity and harmony with creation? How will you look at the world in light and yet you neglect the shadow? How will you see yourself in the future? How will you know yourself and come to be yourself? How will you truly come to know if you cannot see? How will you manifest? How will you work with the goddesses? And the few goddesses that I work with are Bastet, Ishtar, Inanna, Hela, Hecate, Gaia, Hera. Athena's come up once or twice. Cordelia, Ostara, um, Mawu of I've even worked with Papa Legba from time to time, and he's the guardian of the crossroads, the doorways. And I've worked with these spirits, and I don't work with them on the traditional level. I work with them on my level, the way I feel guided to work with them, because I'm on my own path, my own journey, and it's empowered me to be more than who I am, and it's allowed me to be who I am without giving up what I am. And with that said, I wanted to draw a card for you guys. And just remember that you all have the power in the darkness to work with yourself, to know yourself, to understand yourself. And only in the beginning can you truly know. Because the fool starts in the womb, the beginning, the darkness, and is revealed in light, which is the magician, which he grows throughout his stages from shadow into light, into the world, and back into the void, into shadow. And it's literally the journey of the fool from darkness into light, because he's going through the processes of the 22 major archetypes of a human consciousness, of a human way of thinking, from the fool to the world, which is the sage in some traditions, which would be considered the sage because it's the ending of one's knowledge path. And it's a tool. that is very useful to figure out where you are in your path. So, with that said, the cards for today is the goddess, or the protector in this case. And I'm using the gay tarot, but I kind of enjoy this, which is a little bit more masculine, feminine, masculine yet feminine in a way. But I have seen mixed reviews on the lack of female characters in this, but this is the protector, the goddess, or the empress card, if you will. And as you can see, the guy is protecting the child, his daughter, and then you have the dove and the branch, the sun. So the protector is all about protecting that which you care for the most. Putting aside any worries, any doubts, and just looking for the brighter future. And this brings up something that I know is true, because everyone forgets that a tunnel is always dark until the end. And when we first begin the tunnel into the shadow and walking the path from darkness into light, we often forget that the tunnel is a little bit longer than what we expect. So to me, it's kind of like the saying that General Iroh from Avatar: The Last Airbender put up in one of the episodes, and it's all about him saying that one does not often see the light at the end of the tunnel, but if you keep on going, you will find what you're looking for, or something like that. It's been a while since it's been years since I've watched the show, but it's that same concept. And sometimes if you're afraid of and you're having the worries, the fears, just persevere and do what is necessary, do what is needed for you to achieve. Go through the shadow, face the shadow, know the shadow. And my little interpretation is, if the light seems too far away, light the bitch up yourself, because you have the power to change. You have the power of manifestation. Light your shadows and reveal what you need at the time. Don't wait for it to come to you. Bring it to you. Make it here and now, because that's you. Your ability is to manifest. Even in shadow, you can manifest your desires. And I might do another video on how to do dark manifestations and dark meditation, and the might do another video on the inner child, or the inner shadow, or inner world meditation, which will be a guided meditation. And on top of that, after the goddess, you have the three of spades, the three of swords, which is heartbreak, things hitting the heart in such a way that it hurts. Just know that everyone has to go through pain. Everyone has to lose something in order to gain something. And it's not often something that we ourselves enjoy or like. And then you have the lovers, which is all about change. Some to me, the lovers isn't just loving relationships. This can be friendships, changes of drastic measures that needed to be changed, things that kind of have to find their way, know your way, and things that has to come to pass in order for you to learn on a deeper level. So when you work with the goddesses of darkness, the darkness of the goddess, the crone aspect, you're literally delving deeper into the underworld journeys, and the shamanic journeys, if you will, which reminds me of a journey that I had where it was more like a ritualistic death, and I've literally had to kind of envision myself in my own grave in order for me to reach the underworld. It's kind of the same concept of for me is going into the underworld through my own grave. And that took me into the shadows, into the place where I have yet to truly find my place. But that was years ago. Now I feel like I found my place, and that's to teach others to kind of find their truth for themselves, because you can learn from others, but that's not as fun as learning from yourself. And I hope this really helps you guys, because there's so many great sources to look up for darkness, dark energy, dark matter, dark everything. The Emerald Tablets. I would suggest Ashira Star Goddess, and I know she hasn't watched this video, so I really thoroughly enjoy this talk, because darkness is something that should not be feared. It's something that needs to be embraced. And why fear it if it's a part of us, if it's a part of everything? Darkness makes up so much more than the light that we should not fear it. We should love and embrace it, because it's a part of us. We can't get rid of it. Why get rid of something that has its place? If we destroyed it, we destroy ourselves. But that's not me. That's not what I want, because I enjoy and I love all that is needed of me at this current time. Just as much as you guys should love yourself, to know yourself, to be yourself. Why give others that sensitivity, that power over you, if you can control it? If you can control yourself, if you can put in that time and dedication to truly love, care, and manifest what you want for yourself, what you want to be, not whatever anybody else wants to be. That's darkness. And to me, any and all magic should be done in secret, in shadow, because in darkness you relax. You can relax to the deepest strata of your being. And in the darkness, you kind of light the beacon of light in the dark to kind of bring in the energies your way. That's my interpretation of it. And I really do hope this video kind of helped you guys on your path. And I hope that you guys actually get to know a little bit more about who you are on your journey. So, with much love, love and light.